think, I think they could address it different ways, but they don't have to tax the advertising. Just like we did with the windmills to promote wind energy, we exempted the tower as personal property, or the generator and the blades, made that personal property, and only taxed, as far as property taxes, taxed the tower. Well, we could do the same thing with billboards. Whether or not, I guess I'd have to see. Depends on what they come up with for tax rates and whatnot. I've always wondered why somebody didn't bring something forward. I mean, we heard comments about the billboard company having a powerful lobby. Well, at the state level, that doesn't resound much with me, because they are just people that are hired by the lobbyists, or hired by the signs folks to come in and convince us that their side is right. Everybody has equal voice, equal access. Anybody could come to Pier and lobby on anything, and it's just a matter of getting organized. So I don't think that it's a matter of that the legislators are being lobbied so hard that they can't get anything done. I'm not aware that they've had any legislation even brought forward in that regard. So I'd hate to commit to saying that I would support it without even seeing the legislation or how it's drafted. It's important to remember that all property taxes, and a lot of people don't understand this, every penny of your property taxes stay in your county. But a good portion of them are your local portion of the education bill. The county, though, if you increase property taxes through the billboards, the county would reap benefit from that. And the county also reaps benefit from new growth. And in this area, we're fairly fortunate because there has been a significant amount of new growth, and in the school district also, as far as capital outlay to keep up with the structural needs. I got a number of bullet points, and this, it makes me smile because we put up with this rhetoric year in and year out, year in and year out. I'll go right from the top. Last 2 years, we've added $54 million additional dollars to K-12 funding. $54 million. Okay, that's $45 million was a statutory increase. Tom already mentioned it. Education is the only area in government that gets a mandatory increase. And some of the school lobbies talk like that money doesn't even exist, that they started at zero. $54 million last 2 years. Here's some information that's pertinent. The last 4 years, we've added $43 million ongoing increases in state aid to education. During those same 4 years, the education, the school reserves have increased by $46 million. Did you catch that? We've added $43 million in additional ongoing increases. At the same period of time, schools' reserves have went up $46 million. The comment about us ranking
reserves capital outlays, or are they?
Let me finish.
General. That's my question. Are they for capital outlays?
No, that's the general fund. General fund. Okay, 50th in education. That's not true. In education funding, we are ranked 36th in education
when
funding.
You combine federal, state, and local, we're ranked 36th.
Let me finish. That's exactly right. Let's talk about total dollars for education, because that's what the school districts have in their hand to spend. State, local, federal. We're ranked 36th in the nation. Okay. Now the part about being ranked last in state funding, well, they don't include local property taxes. Well, what does the property tax payer care whether it's coming out of this pocket or this pocket? 50% of every dollar that we spend on education, or that goes to the state in revenue, goes to education. That's why it's last during session. It's first, it's last, it's all the way in between. We discuss education, there are meetings on education funding every single day, all the way through the legislature.
Do you believe
I run out of time, but I will answer that. That's another part of this question that I disagreed with, because it says sales tax revenues are not increasing. That's not accurate. They are increasing. And we've been using those increases to increase funding. And in the last every year since I've been in the legislature, virtually every year, we've increased education funding above the statutory requirement of the 3%. Every single year.
Mr. Levine,
Well, it's a great question about being ranked last in teachers' pay. First point I'd make is the local school districts, the local school boards set teacher salaries. And have you heard the numbers where we rank as far as administrative salaries? I've not. I've tried to find them. I've not been successful. But we don't hear about that. How is it not pertinent that the fact that the state is sending money to the local school boards and they're putting in reserves? That is so pertinent that this year, Tom mentioned one legislation that we worked on in the House to set up a licensure system to reward excellence, to bring forward some new ideas to reward teachers that are very competent and that are doing a great job. SDEA dismissed it out of hand, sent out a statewide email to all the teachers with, it was mind-boggling, the misinformation that went out on that legislation. But aside from that, it was the opportunity to come to the table and work on those issues, and they dismissed it. It's water under the bridge, and I think that we're going to, I've talked to the SDA officials, and we're going to start over on that. We did, however, pass legislation to set a precedence, and it went directly against local control, which I believe strongly in. But given the fact that we are sending money to the local school districts and it's going into the reserves and the teachers are still ranked 50th, the bill we passed this year gave the schools their mandatory increase, the 2.5%, which was this year, and then dedicated every penny above that specifically to teacher salaries. The school district had to prove that those dollars were going to the teachers in order to qualify for it. This year, unfortunately, we had a very tight budget, and I think it only ended up at 3.25%. But the 0.5% or whatever it was dedicated to teacher salaries. But we recognize that there's a problem, and we're trying to find solutions at the state level to address specifically teacher salaries without influencing local control. Saying thank you, and I do look forward to having these discussions like this, and it's a blessing in disguise to have a campaign, because it gives me a reason to get out and get reattached and have opportunities like this to meet the people, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to serve for the last 8 years, and it has been a privilege. And I worked very hard to keep in check my personal life and my family and my priorities, and I work very hard at making sure that if I get a constituent that calls me, that I return a call, that I work on their behalf and do what I can. And it's been a privilege to serve you, and I thank you for that opportunity.